All right, 1102, here we go. Very quickly now, we are doing our second week of 1102 here. We have a couple of short stories to read. Let me pull them up real quick. It is Neil Gaiman's How to Talk to Girls at Parties. Okay, this is in our plot section. Okay, and excuse me, and William Faulkner's A Rose for Emily. Okay. There are questions associated with both of those stories. And if you have the e-text access, okay, at the end of the Neil Gaiman short story, How to Talk to Girls at Parties, as you see in the announcement, I'd like you to do the even numbers 2, 4, 6, and 8. Okay. Now, for William Faulkner's A Rose for Emily, I'd like you to do odd numbers 1, 3, 5, and 7. All in all, this is 8 discussion questions, okay, turned in individually. That's part 1. Part 2 is our first journal assignment, okay? We have our first journal, and the journal is asking you all to reflect on last week's stories, okay? Those being the 2 short stories, the Sandra Cisneros Pilon and the Dave Eggers accident stories, and then the Ernest Hemingway Hills Like White Elephants, okay? And basically all I ask you is, of the 3, what's your most favorite one? Of the 3, what's your least favorite one? Why? And when you're answering that question, you might think way back to 1101 when we talked about narrative, okay? You guys had a journal last part of the term, where I asked you all, well, why is storytelling important? And for this, what I'm asking you to do is, how is your favorite story, once you've identified it and explained why it's your favorite, how is it an example of a successful narrative? What does it do? How does it succeed in your mind? And then the flip side of that, your least favorite one, how is it, in your estimation, an unsuccessful narrative? Okay, based on what? What criteria? Okay. The discussion board questions for the preceding week kind of asked you all to engage in this question. Are the short stories, the 2 that we read, in your view, do they stand up as true stories? And I asked you all, we're getting into plot this week, I asked you all to think of it in terms of Freytag's pyramid, okay? And when you read the plot information, the introductory material before the stories for this week, and you should be reading the introductory material for each unit, so we're in Chapter 7, Plot. Please read the plot information before you get to the stories. But I kind of primed you all for this last week with this Freytag's pyramid question in the discussion board. Freytag's pyramid, of course, you probably have seen this before. It's how you plot a story, a short story or any story, okay? There's an exposition, there's a beginning, there's an inciting incident, okay? Something interesting happens. Picture it like a roller coaster, okay? You begin, you have that initial turn upward, you have the rising action that leads to the climax. Climax is the pivotal point in the story. Something changes, something dynamic happens. Then you have a falling action where, you've come out of the climax, okay? And you're heading towards the resolution. How do you resolve this issue in the climax, okay? And then you have the conclusion finally. How does it all wrap up? Okay, 7 parts: exposition, inciting incident, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, conclusion. Okay, so I asked you all to frame the short stories and the Hemingway short story according to that. So start thinking about this now with these short stories, the Neil Gaiman story and the Faulkner story in terms of plot. Okay, because that's the unit we're in right now. All right. Do those discussion questions that I have assigned at the end. I didn't post the discussion questions because you all have them in the e-text, but if you need me to copy and paste them, if you don't have access to it, just let me know and I'll make that available to you. I'll say too that you guys can watch the movie How to Talk to Girls at Parties. It's a feature film. I think the production company A24 released it. I haven't seen it, but I have seen season 1 of American Gods. It was a Showtime show based on Gaiman's novel, American Gods. So Neil Gaiman's huge. He's kind of pop culture meets, writer's writer. Okay, kind of like a Stephen King in that regard. Okay, a lot of fantasy, a lot of sci-fi. Neil Gaiman concerned with there. And then, of course, William Faulkner, a titan of American Southern Gothic literature. Speaking of Southern Gothic literature, your first analysis essay, which we'll talk about next week, is on Flannery O'Connor's A Good Man is Hard to Find. So you guys should probably read that story, annotate it, okay? And then I will have the prompt guiding you, how you construct your essay about it next week, okay? So to recap, as I'm running out of time here, read the 2 short stories, How to Talk to Girls at Parties, also the Faulkner story. You do the odd questions, you do the even questions with Gaiman, the odd questions with Faulkner, and do the journal assignment, please. All right, that's it. I'm going to sign off. I hope you all are well. Be safe out there. We'll get through this together. Talk to you next time.